Well, the thing is, not everyone's a good mentor. And even you may be technically good at your role, and we know this in environmental and design with engineers, you may be technically good at your job. That doesn't mean that you're good at explaining it to someone else or walking them through challenges or empathizing. So,
Tell us about the role model way, please.
oh, wow. Straight to that, huh? Okay, awesome. The role model way is a framework and a philosophy for doing business and teaching leadership. So the concept is based around learning from role models to be role models to create role models. It's a cycle, right? So I know who my role models are. I know why they're my role models. I emulate them in ways that help me to get through my day and to be a good leader and a mentor. And then the people I'm around, they learn from me and pass it down. So it's a pay it forward. But there's a whole rubric for actually going into business and evaluating that goes along with it as well. So I wanted to create something that could relate to anyone. One of the major things I would see going into an organization is that people go, I don't want to do this, especially at the bottom level. Why do I have to be excellent? What does world class mean? You know, if you're the front line working in the cash register at a Walgreens, you don't really care much about excellence and all of that. But you could be a role model cashier, I think. So that's where the premise comes from.
Oh, that's interesting. So you can have a level of pride in what work at whatever level and a level of connection to those around you to help them succeed in life at whatever level. And
Right.
that's a really great message. Maybe I'm being disingenuous to people in my life, but I haven't really had a role model.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Jody, I'm right with you. That's my other thing. I could have done so many things with my past, and I'm like, I had no role models. I used to code. I did programming coding when I was 18, and actually my first career job, I moved to Ireland because of a program that I wrote, which was a CRM, which didn't exist. I learned how to program pre-internet, going on forums, and created for an international company their CRM, and I had no idea. I was just solving a problem, but I had no female role models to encourage me or to show me a way. And that was when that was like .com bubble in
Right.
Silicon Valley, and it was all like young, affluent white boys, and like I didn't want to play in that. You know, that didn't appeal to me. So, but in hindsight, like man, if I could pay that forward. So a lot of what I do now is actually based just on that, Jody. Like I
Yeah.
didn't have the role models in front of me either.
So not everyone is a good mentor.
Do you then go out and help find like additional role models so that nobody else has to deal with that? It's clearly a big problem. There's three of us on this call right now, and I'm the only one that feels as though I had role models.
Yeah, there's both sides to that. Like I've met other people who feel like mentoring is really important because they had a good role model and they
Yeah.
see that other people may not. And then there's, you know, Jody and I's case where we recognize that we didn't maybe have them, and maybe they were there, just didn't know to look for them. But I think there's a lot more heavy placement now on mentorship, and I keep seeing new programs. The biggest new thing with the role model way is that there's mentorship components coming. Like one of the services we provide is helping establish corporate mentor programs because there's a lot of
That's good.
well-meaning activities going out there, but a bad mentor experience can really have the complete opposite effect for someone. If you have a bad mentor relationship, you can be shied away from it forever, and it can also do a lot of self-image and self-conscious damage to the person who's receiving the bad mentorship. So sometimes I think organizations are trying to do their best, but they're not using best practices, and I don't think there's a lot of information even on what those best practices are. Just for example, a lot of companies will say we're starting a mentor program. Everyone's going to participate, and when a new person gets hired, we're going to give them a buddy. And then they pair them up and they make everyone do it. Well, the thing is, not everyone's a good mentor. And even you may be technically good at your role, and we know this in environmental and design with engineers, you may be technically good at your job. That doesn't mean that you're good at explaining it to someone else or walking them through challenges or empathizing. So there's a lot of skills that are lacking when you just say, here it is, we're going to go do it.
if you walked into a room and were able to have a conversation with all of the people in the room, what would be the top three things that you would be looking for as far as tapping someone and say, hey, have you considered being a mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just did this yesterday. I'm always looking. So I have an emerging leaders program. It's the Role Model Way Emerging Leaders Society. We're just getting started, but we're looking for ambassadors in that program who are young people, like between the ages of 16 and 24-ish, who are already kind of stepping up into that space. You already see them giving a presentation, or they're the ones who will raise their hand. There's the ones who are willing to speak, maybe on behalf of others. They're the ones who have a tinge of confidence in their voice where other people may not. And mostly they're people who are giving valuable or contributing valuable information to whatever the conversation is. So that means that they're thinking about the problem, they're thinking about solutions. And then when you bring them into a mentor program, they're that more likely to work with other people and hear their problems and provide them with solutions.
That's great. And you said somebody who has the confidence and is raising their hand, and that brought to mind one of my blind spots is that I tend to be that person, and I struggle with people who are more timid and more introverted in how they respond to other people. Do you look for a specific type of mentor for somebody who's, it's not necessarily that they're not self-confident, but their approach to the world is different than my approach to the world, dramatically so.
Yeah, so do you mean on the mentee side or the mentor side?
I guess on the mentor side, I'm curious about how somebody can help someone succeed in a world that demands extroverted posture when they're not extroverted.
Yeah. Networking and putting yourself out there is a skill. So actually, I think if you can pair somebody up who thinks they're an introvert with someone who can relate to that, then and again, this is where training for mentors come in. If they can help, not tell them what to do, but give them suggestions and guidance around, I think maybe you would want to step out of your circle. Like I tell people to go to networking events with no expectations in mind. Even if you come to a Green Drinks and you just are there and you never say a word, that's a win. If you are an introvert and you're afraid of networking, just go. And no one cares. And if you're me, I'm going to find you. I'm going to come find you, and I will sit down next to you, and I'm going to talk to you when I see you by yourself at a networking event like that. So the other thing you can do if you feel like you're that person is to go be a wallflower and look for the me in the room, the person who you think looks like a person who would be approachable, and try to talk to them.
Look for Green Drinks, Syracuse.
I want to task like 5 people. Like, hey, do me this salad. Like, if you see somebody alone, like, please just go talk to them. Make sure that they feel included and engaged.
We would have the students, they could label their thing as students if they wanted to, so that people knew that, of course, they didn't have to if you don't want to run around letting people know that you're a student and inviting people to come talk to you. Because there's that one person who thinks they're doing a young person a favor by asking them really hard questions, like right on the spot. And I always want to just like grab that person by the hair and be like, stop it.
Jill.
Just let the conversation flow.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's like you need the Goldilocks of mentors. Like you need all of them.
Somebody at my point in my career, quite a few years in, I guess, still not done, at least quite a few years ahead of me, maybe 20 to 30 years ahead of me in my mind. Am I too old to be in the market for a mentor?
Oh, absolutely not. No way.
Cool.
And actually, I do the reverse. I hire students to work with me so they can be my young mentors. Like, I don't have kids. I'm so out of touch. So I need them to mentor me on how to be cool, you know?
Yeah.
And I even laugh when they say cool to me. I'm like, oh, I can still say that. Awesome.
Don't say hip. Don't say what my son lectures me almost weekly on some word that I'm using that I shouldn't use anymore.
I feel like you need mentors that are like up, down, and equal.
Yeah.
I think you need them anytime you're going through transition.
Yeah.
is a good time to think about when you need a coach or a mentor, because they're the people who can help you navigate when you have lots of options or where you might not know what you don't know. And so they can help you make it to the other side of whatever that transition is. Back that up with, you hopefully are already networking in groups like Green Drinks and doing stuff where you are connected with people so that when you are ready to seek out a mentor, you have somebody in mind.
That's interesting. And it sounds like it can be a formal, hey, I want to talk to you about you mentoring me, or about me mentoring you, because there's some potential here where the information can be guiding information as opposed to just chatting for a while at this event.
So I think that Jody brings up a really interesting point. What's like the most common, I guess, demographic of who you're working with?
My biggest satisfaction is other people's success, not necessarily my own. Like, I kind of, collect that for myself. Yeah, I have different demographics, but it all comes back to, I have bounced around so many different experiences in my own life. So it's a reflection of myself. Like, I have been a coder and now I'm back in coding. And, and I say back then, but I've still have had my own graphic design and web design company for years. So I've still been on the front end of development for a long time. I'd spent 10 years working in environmental science, so I still am in the environmental space. And then before that, my first love was photography and art. So I do also coach artists in business as well. And so it's my inability to focus on one thing. And I like all of these things, so I just keep welcoming them into my life. So I think I don't have a main focus. My main focus are people who want to make a bigger impact, whether you're an individual or the business owner, or you're looking for a job that has a better impact, that makes an impact, right? So,
I think my song.
It's all just listening to their problems and helping them strategize. It really all comes down to just like how to strategize around your problem and then take actionable steps forward.
Say yes, do it until you don't want it, then move on.
The aspects of sustainability and what that means is like a really big thing. So what do you tell people who are looking for sustainability related jobs, and how do you get them on a path? Because I get this question a lot from outsiders looking for me to help place people in a job, which I find great that I'm known for apparently being capable of doing this, despite the fact I don't think I ever have.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're right, sustainability is huge. And I just did a presentation for the Student Development Network, which are youth network, and they're all young persons who are aspiring to do work with like the UN. And they all, I even before the presentation, they submitted questions, and all of their questions are, how do I get into this? How do I get into that? Well, the first thing you do is go on Google and ask that question, right? Yeah. And then you have to start looking at job descriptions, because, and I know what you're talking about, Lauren, because I get those questions too from people like through LinkedIn or whatever. And you can't tell them what job. Someone will say, I'm hoping you can help me identify my strengths and then tell me where I should work. Like, I can't do that. Because with my own example, when I decided I wanted to work outdoors and I thought I wanted to be a park ranger, when I went out to be a park ranger, I absolutely hated it. So I can't sit here and tell you, Lauren, I think because of what you told me, I think you would like X, Y, and Z. I can point you in those directions, but you have to go out and read the job descriptions, volunteer, talk to people who work in those jobs, and decide for yourself if you think that it's something you're going to like. On the flip side, you got to start taking whatever you can get. So if you are trying to get their foot in the door, volunteer, network, read job descriptions, and say yes to the first thing that comes along. Do it until you were like, nope, I don't want it, and then try the next thing that comes along.
It's about winding and revealing paths.
It's a journey, right? So you're going down a path, testing that path. If you don't like that path, you get on a different path. But there isn't an answer to, here's my skills, what job should I do? It's just not that simple.
So what I'm hearing is that the finding of passion in jobs and finding your dream job has probably not changed in the last 40 years. The path is the same for everyone. You start and then you adjust, you pivot.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
It's almost like that definition of finding jobs and sustainability is actually what sustainability is all about. Because sustainability is about taking a couple of steps, figuring out what works, figuring out what doesn't work, and taking those couple of steps reveals to you other steps to take that you would never have seen if you didn't take those first couple of steps. Dude, you just gotta take a job. I worked at Bruegger's. I worked in a used bookstore. I met the guy who gave me my first job in architecture when I was making a bagel for him. I heard him saying that he needed an architect, and I said, I'm an architect.
We need to let the doors open.
We just read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And that's exactly the whole point of the book, is to stop trying to control the outcome. Picture what you want, but stop trying to control how you get there. So people coming to me or you asking, how do I get a job in sustainability, or what type of job should I get, is them just trying to get excuse to control it. Visualize it, and then stop trying to figure out, control how you get that job, and start letting the doors open through networking and through exploring and saying yes to things, instead of saying, I need the manager job, I need the job that pays this much, I need the job that's not part-time, I need, or Lauren said I should look for landscape design, and that's the only thing you're looking for. Like you are closing other things off when you do that.
Listen up.
When people come to me and say, can you help me find a job in this, or can you tell me what job I should apply for, I'm always thinking, nobody wants to hire the person who can't do the research themselves. We're scientists. You need to learn to research. And so if you treat your career like a science project, you are well on your way.
That's a great point. The other thing that occurs to me, and what I struggle with in talking to people, because I get people calling and saying, how do I get your job? The industry is such that, and my knowledge and Lauren's knowledge and a lot of people's knowledge is such that we know that every job has to include an awareness of sustainability as we move forward into our climate future. Quite often, you don't get a sustainability job, you make the job that you have a sustainability job. And I think that that's important to recognize in this industry too. You go into a job and and it's not just about sustainability. You can inform the job you're in over time. It's not going to happen like overnight. You can inform it about social justice and equity, and you can inform it about sustainability, and then you can build from there to find a job that's closer to what you want, or you can inform it until it becomes the job that you originally wanted. It's sometimes not job hopping, but creating the world that you want to be in.
Be the change. Yeah.
Be the change. It's like the Majora Carter said, you don't have to leave the town you live in to live in a sustainable town.
The High Impact Reading Challenge.
High Impact Reading Challenge. It's hosted by Wildebeest Publishing Company, and there's a LinkedIn group, there's a Facebook group. We have our books picked for the year. It's for people who binge read leadership and personal development books. So my co-host Lisa Sears and I, we were continually just recommending books to each other, and then just like trying to recall things we read out of books, and we're like, I don't remember where that came from, but I loved it. And then we were like, why don't we just get together and start reading, talk about the books that we read. And then we just invited other people. So we're in year 2, and we have about 20 something members, and we're looking to grow. It's so great. It's a networking opportunity. It's fun. And there's 2 challenges involved. The first challenge is reading every book, and the second challenge is showing up to the call whether you read the book or not. The 2 that keep getting referred to the most, and a lot of times by me, is the 4 Agreements. And I think I've even
Which I read.
to read this.
Done. Right. So
4
good.
Agreements?
The
The
4
4
Agreements.
Okay.
It is based in American Indian culture. So that right there is a win for me, but it's spiritual plus leadership plus whatever. It's just so simple.
Laura advised me in my last session to read the 4 agreements, and I literally have this, and in my Evernote I have like a copy of this.
It's one of the initial reactions we have come from those 4 places, and we can avoid lots of conflict just from tuning into those. So, and for me, this don't take it personally is a huge.
Me too.
And it comes from our ego. Our ego just immediately goes, "Hey, I'm right," and so that's the breaking the habit of being yourself is a lot focused on that part of it, and shutting your ego off.
Right. So even I don't know if this story relates or not, but even as much as I work to try and have that balance between ego and acceptance of other ideas, sometimes you just get so comfortable with the information that you have that you're presenting it in a way that sounds demanding because it's so matter of fact. Like I've repeated the same things a million times. So I have to be careful how I say something as a fact. If it's a new idea to someone else, it's not a fact to them. I have to create that awareness in myself, and it's my choice whether I let that impact how I deliver things. But being aware that they could be perceived differently is I think very powerful.
That's why you need to be impeccable with your words.
Yeah, that's
it all goes back to those 4 things. To me, when you put on the hat of being a role model, you automatically elevate your self-awareness because now you are recognizing that your actions are being seen and you're influencing other people where you may have been neglecting or taking that for granted previously.
That's terrifying.
And then other one, unexpectedly, this is one that I picked up a while ago. It was a reread for me that I picked, is Turn the Ship Around. And I'm terrible with names. What is his name? You won't find another one. It's Turn the Ship Around, and it's about a submarine captain. And it's from his perspective and how it has metaphors, but it also is literally turning a ship around. And I recommend also reading it or listening on audio. His voice, just him reading the book to you, is awesome. So
the Environmental Professionals radio podcast,
which was great.
So good.
We just started in January. So I'm on the board of the National Association of Environmental Professionals. So they are a national organization, and the oldest chapters have been around for, I'm bad with names and numbers, decades, let's just say. And I was the vice president and president of the Tampa Bay Association of Environmental Professionals, like 2014-15. And I love the organization, Environmental Professionals, which includes sustainability. I think a lot of sustainability persons don't like to recognize that they are environmental and they cross over. Because like you said, Jody, sustainability doesn't depend on the degree you have. It depends on the solutions you're coming up with. But the National Association has been doing webinars. They have a newsletter that they publish and other publications. But we were just looking for ways to get to younger, more diverse audience. And so podcast just made sense. It's really one of the only things that they offer outside of the membership bubble. So we're trying it out and hoping that it will reach more students, more young people. Let us, the whole purpose of it is to bring people on like Lauren, talk about what they do for work, but then also talk about them as people. So they'll feel comfortable, meeting environmental professionals in a real setting. I mean, it can be intimidating because we're all educated and smart, and if you're just a student, you forget to realize that we've all been on that journey we were talking about.
I think it's great the more often that we can talk about, first of all, the environment and the work of sustainability, and the more often we can be, I don't know, this is the right term, casual in that conversation. So it's not above anyone, it's accessible, the more impact we can have. So that podcast, I really enjoyed listening to your interview with Lauren. It was relaxed, it was informative, it was I was able to listen to the whole thing, and I'm very easily distracted. so that was great. I think
we did try to keep them short for you.
Those elements are things that Lauren and I aspire to with this, I believe, as well.
I love this. I love speaking off the cuff and rolling with it and see where it goes. That's why you network. You don't know where the conversation is going to go.
I'm gonna, so I officially, as of today, signed back on with OCC to be an adjunct, and
You did. Congratulations.
thank you. And one of
For
the
them.
classes that I'm teaching again is sustainability in the built environment. I think what I'm gonna have them do is start listening probably to aspects of your podcast and have them kind of write papers on stuff like that, because I need them to start engaging and thinking bigger. And so I think I'd like to have my students start to listen to it and to know that this is like a group that's out there that they can react to and react with and be a part of.
I love that. And we've actually been looking for student volunteers and some people to get involved to help us with social media or doing blogs. So if you have, want to make that an assignment, we could put it on the website and actually make it,
Let's do it. Let's make it an assignment.
Yes.
I'll have it be like a student has to take like a week or something like that, or 2 students per week or something for the 15 weeks of the class.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I like it. We just wrapped that one up.
Exactly. I mean, we were looking for accidental benefits from this.
Oh, you are not throw away the idea of I'm networking like it's a thing. It's just building relationships.
I have to hand out.
It is a skill though.
6 resumes before the end of the night because I'm networking. That's not networking.
Laura's invitation.
If you're a student and you're listening, connect with me on LinkedIn, say hi. I will probably send you a free download of some kind because that's what I usually do when I connect to people.
Here you go, Jody.
That's awesome.
Stand out. Find ways to stand out if you are a student trying to find a job or just get noticed. Because let me tell you, there's just 1 out of 100 people will be that person who bothers to put in the effort to stand out and do something different. Heroes are those people who come in, who save you, right? Who rescue you from something. And I am just not one of those people who really needs to be saved very often. My hero is Prince. So you cannot connect with him physically now, but you can connect with him. And that's the whole point, right? My heroes come from music. So if I had to say a living hero, it's Juliette Lewis. I don't know if you know that she is a rock performer. And freaking amazing. She gets on stage like a rock and roll animal, and it is just I want to be the free spirit she is. So so she's a little mentor, a little hero, a little role model, whatever. But hip hop is really what saves me. If I am in I use music to motivate me in different ways, but when I need motivation or I'm feeling stuck or down, hip hop is the thing that elevates me and keeps me going. So I would like to say that some of my hip hop heroes right now that I'm watching, I have Six Figures is a friend from Boston. He actually we met at an art workshop that I taught. That's VI Figgis. And then Dr. Thomas Rashad Easley will actually be on the podcast. He is Director of Diversity and Inclusion for the Yale Environmental School.
Very cool.
He's going to be on our podcast soon. He's awesome. I love the way he talks about the connectivity of the world, and I absolutely love that he writes and creates hip hop. And then my cousin, a cousin of mine, C-Nube, C-Nube. He just released a song called The Beautiful Struggle, and it is a beautiful song. And they inspire me and hip hop inspires me because that's just all about people who don't have a chance in the freaking world showing up, hand up to haters, and just focus on themselves and keep going, regardless of lyrics or whatever. That's what the main intent is. So those are my heroes right now. Don't think I have any other thing to say, is that we just need to be kinder to each other.
Would you say we should be impeccable with our words?
That is a good way to be kind. Think before you talk.
A call to action.
My call to action for environmental professionals is to be role models, even when you're off the clock. So a lot of times we'll be at a picnic, we'll have events with family, we'll have a conference, and there's plastic around. Maybe it was convenient or cost effective, but I think if we aren't going to be the ones who have our free Edwards Pittman Nalgene's from a conference and actually using it, then how can we expect everyday people to do those things? So
This has been Subject to Change, a sustainability podcast.
So Lauren didn't warn me that this was going to be a therapy session.
I didn't recognize it was going to. I should have known because Laura's my therapist as well. So
it's just hilarious because I am not, like, that's not how I picture myself.